Those who are not refreshing with the tea, I want to them refresh with the asthma education because the message was very well delivered by Dr. Narayan Misra. So let's refresh ourselves about the asthma education. Education should be an integral part of all interaction between healthcare professionals and patients. It's not an individual session on the asthma education. However, before imparting education to the patient, we must be aware of the basic awareness of the patient regarding the disease and management. We should provide specific information, training and diagnosis and advice about the diagnosis of the asthma, difference between relievers and controller medications, potential side effects of the medications, use of inhalers devices, as Dr. Misra also highlight about it. And we should give the information about the prevention of symptoms and attacks, signs of worsening and action to take, monitoring control of asthma, how and when to seek medical attention. Information should also be given about the types of treatment available, the rationale and strategy for avoiding factors causing asthma symptoms. In the initial consultation, we should demonstrate what are the different devices available in the market and encourage to participate in decision of most suitable devices. It should not be only by the doctor's prescription, it should be patient participation also. And criteria for selection of device should include availability and cost, patient skill and preference of professional and patients. Then personal asthma action plans should be developed which helps the patients to change their treatment according to response. Intervention involves the education, self-monitoring, regular review of patients, directed self-management, using a written self-asthma action plan. In the follow-up, what we can do is that follow-up should be at the regular interval. We should make sure that follow-up should be at the regular interval, not the erratic one. I have seen so many times that patient comes with the history that they have control and they are coming after 4 or 5 years for the follow-up, not only monthly follow-up. So we should discuss each problems if the patient should have, and we should demonstrate the technique of taking device. In the follow-up, we should check the adherence and compliance and ask symptoms and if possible home peak flow meter recording. An education message should be given to the patients. Regarding the improving the adherence, non-adherence may be identified and identifications can be done by various means regarding the short questionnaires of the resistance monitoring, and patient concerned about the side effect of corticosteroids may be a cause of non-adherence. Non-adherence factors we can divide into drug factor and non-drug factors. In the drug factors, it can be with the difficulty with the device because patient's confidence are not taken into consideration. The physician thinks that this is the best device and we prescribe it, so this can be one of the drug factors. Then upward regimes 4 times in a day, or side effects of the drugs too costly for the poor patients, dislike of medication and pharmacy is too distant. These all can be the drug causes. Among the non-drug factors, misunderstandings or lack of instructions. Frequently we do not give the full instructions. Fear about the side effect, dissatisfaction, unexpressed or undiscussed fears and inappropriate expectations can be the cause. Other cause can be the poor supervisions, training or follow-up, anger about conditions, cultural issues, stigmatizations, forgetfulness, attitude toward ill health, and religious issues. So they all can be the non-drug factors. So we should educate not only to the patients but the general public, school teachers, physical education instructors, and school may need advice on improving environment, particularly smoke-free environment and air quality, and employers should also be educated. Environment control is a useful but often ignored steps. And we know that regarding the dust mite avoidance, bed linen must be laundered 1 or 2 times per week. We should maintain humidity at less than 50%, and in case the pillow and mattress frequent. Regarding the vacuuming, remember that 30 minutes after vacuuming there is an increased dust mite load in the air. So individuals with significant asthma should avoid vacuuming or avoid the room for 30 minutes after vacuuming. Regarding the pollen avoidance, we know that air conditioner should be adopted, minimize the outdoor exposure during the times of highest pollen counts, and keep the window closed and air filters should be used if possible. Regarding the animal avoidance, if possible, keep animals out of the bedroom if the family stay as a cat. And weekly washing of the cat significantly reduce the allergen load. May have to remove animals from home. Dry clean upholstery and Carpets covered with an air filters any ducts which leads into the bedrooms. Regarding the mold avoidance, children and adolescents with allergic rhinitis and asthma should not be sleeping in a damp basement. Clean moldy surface, avoid house plants and avoid coat that involves the damp grass and leaves. Then avoidance of non-allergic triggers should be also taken care of, like strong emotions, smokes, pollution, cold air, odors and exercise. As we know that prevention is better than the cure, so as with all other disease, prevention is always better. Good management is the key to preventing exacerbation and hospitalizations. So friends, we should teach the patient what is asthma. We all know what is asthma is, so we should teach the patients. There are certain facts regarding the asthma that asthma symptoms can begin at any age. Most often misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed in the elderly age groups. Maybe fail to report symptoms because it is thought to be normal at that particular age, or attribute the symptoms to comorbid disease, or at the elder age it can be because of COPD. There are certain misconceptions. Most people think that children will outgrow asthma, although we know that children who suffer from intermittent wheeze have a 50% chance or better of outgrowing this disease, and children with persistent wheezing have only a 5% chance. So symptoms we know, we should tell them to the patients, and we should tell them in detail. A frequently raised question by the patient is there a cure for asthma? And we know that asthma cannot be cured, but it can be controlled, and we should expect nothing less. Regarding the triggers of asthma, we should educate about the patients, and the triggers, we know that there are so many triggers. There are some more triggers and more triggers, so we should teach them about the patients. So what is an episode? We have to tell to the patients during the educations, and we should demonstrate that what happens during the episodes. This is normal and what is happening during the episode. If models are available, we can teach with the help of models, otherwise by simple diagrams or by simple explanations. Regarding the medications, we should tell the patient what are the various routes of administrations of anti-asthma drugs available, oral, inhaled, or injectables, parenterals. There is nothing new, we all know everything. Only thing is that we have to communicate to the patients. And in the MDI, in the medication, in the metered dose inhalers, it can be with this person, with baby mask, DPI, rotaler, roller, discaler, etc. Then we can demonstrate the various medications available to the patients and make them party in selections of the drugs. But one thing we should do, tell the patient very clearly, like eye, we have the eye drops. If there is disease in the eyes, we have the eye drops. If there is the problem in the ears, we have the ear drops. If there is the problem in the skin, we have the skin ointments. And if there is the problem in the nose, we have the local medication. So same way, if there is the problems in the chest, we should have some things which have the local effects. Means inhalers are the better drugs, not the oral ones. This message should be given to the patients. You can choose any other modes of teaching. This is one of them. We can give another examples by showing that if we need the 4 milligrams of salbutamol, which is equivalent to 4,000 micrograms of inhaled one, means 4 milligrams of salbutamol have the same effect with the 200 microgram of salbutamol inhalers have. Means it is around 20 times less in the inhaled forms. So oral or inhaled, everybody have discussed. So I just want to refresh you. Oral large doses use greater side effects, slow onset of action, not useful in acute symptoms, while inhaled have all the positive points. Regarding the long-term and quick relief medications, this is another thing which we have observed that quick relief medications are used more rather than the long-term medications. So this message should be given very clearly that they should be taken daily. People do not take them daily. So what we can monitor by the symptoms and by peak flow meters. We should determine